Well, we're just about set for kickoff here at Hazeltine Field. There you have the matchup. It's the Eagles against the Cardinals of Lawndale. Diego Sanchez alongside Glenn Cassie for this second to last game of the regular season for the Eagles. The last regular season home game. And they just concluded just a little while ago the parent night festivities here, the ceremony honoring the parents. And Glenn, it's a big night for some of these youngsters. The seniors could be theoretically their last home game. I mean, this team, the Eagles, have a very good chance of going to playoffs, especially if they win tonight. But no guarantee that they'll receive a home game during playoffs. So they would have to win perhaps their first round game in order to get a home game if they don't get a home game right off the bat. And you never know. So sort of a, an emotional thing for the kids. And now there you have the captains heading out for the coin toss. We'll have to talk a little bit about this matchup, Glenn. Eagles and Cardinals sort of a contrast in style. Eagles really spread the ball around and like to throw the ball. Cardinals, very much a running game.
Yeah, Mike Quinones has done a great job all season for the Eagles of finding the open man, checking off his receivers, and doing a great job spreading the ball around. One thing that has impressed Coach Shevlin throughout this season with Mike is his composure in the pocket. He's a senior, and this is what you expect of your seniors. You expect them to keep cool under the gun and calm in pressure situations. That's one thing that Mike has been able to do all season long. I mentioned it last week. He's having a phenomenal year, 19 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions. A few of those interceptions, Diego, as you know, came in garbage time at the end of games. So he's having a great year, and I really expect them to come out. It's senior night, could be their last home game. I expect the defense to come out, play with a lot of emotion. The kids are fired up, and I think if they can stuff the run as they did last week against the Saxons, they're going to have a lot of success tonight, no doubt about it. I think the Eagles they have too much firepower on offense, and their defense, with some of the adjustments that they've made throughout the season, they're just going to be too tough for the Cardinals. But that being said, we've also seen some sloppy play. The field is very worn down. You and I were walking on it earlier tonight, and it's very worn down in the middle part. And you can have people slipping, balls overthrown, some turnovers. So it could be anybody's game. But I think if the Eagles play mistake-free football, as they did last week, I really think that they're going to be able to come out victorious.
Well, as you mentioned, the Eagles will have to focus on stopping the Lawndale Cardinals running game, which is led by Travion Thomas. Will be wearing number 3 tonight. He is listed at 5'6", 190. So he's not a big back, but he's very solidly and powerfully built, and he's quick. So he's not easy to bring down. He's hard to kind of find behind those linemen and hard to bring down. The Eagles will have to focus on him, and they will also have to focus on a couple of other backs. They have Rashad Scott and Carlton Callaway. Thomas is averaging over 7 yards per carry this year, or 7.8. The other 2 backs are averaging over 6 yards per carry. So you stop those 3 backs, and it'll place the Cardinals quarterback, Justin Collins, in a tough position because he's just not accustomed to throwing the ball a lot. Well, we're just about set for kickoff here. Looks like Jesse Perez will be kicking off for the Cardinals. Back deep, it's Trevon Smith, but it's a very short kick. The Eagles are going to fall on it. Good job there by Jason Stone. And that's you hate to cast aspersions, but kind of a pathetic kick.
Well,
but it bears mentioning that their regular kicker is injured. We did talk to Mondo Padilla, and Michael Casillas is injured, number 9. So that is not their regular kicker, and that's why it was such a short kickoff.
Well, I actually think, Diego, the opposite. I almost think that they did that intentionally. You remember last week the Saxons did that to try to catch El Segundo off guard early in the game. If that ball goes 10 yards, it's anybody's ball. So I think they're just trying to catch him off guard here early, maybe hopes to create some momentum.
Well, it didn't work. The Eagles get great field position, and the first pass is completed out to the left sideline to Kyle Murray. Short pickup, maybe about 3 yards, so 2nd and 7. And right away, you see Mike Quinones, hitting one of his receivers, and certainly by no means a primary receiver. And there's a give to Gage Mortison, and he picks up another 2 or 3 yards, maybe 3, let's call it, before he's brought down by a host of tacklers, one of them being Jose Aguilar. So it'll bring up a 3rd and, let's say, 4 for the Eagles. Ball is near midfield. Let's call it at the 48. Three receivers in this set. Quinones will go to his back, which is Murray, and Murray's across midfield and down to the 40. Well, they're going to spot it at the 42, and a very nicely designed play, which worked beautifully.
Yeah, and I think not only is Tyler Murray, the kid's playing with a lot of emotion this evening. He's a 5'8" senior, but it's also his 18th birthday, so we'd like to wish Tyler a happy birthday and hope he has a good game tonight.
So 1st and 10 from the Lawndale 42. Under pressure, Quinones has a man open. It's Yesner, and Yesner's going to go into the end zone untouched. Touchdown! Quinones picked up that blitz perfectly and made a very nice throw, a 42-yard touchdown strike, and that's the 20th touchdown throw of the season for Mike Quinones.
Well, I think what happened there actually, what enabled Yesner to get open, it looked like some of the defensive backs for the Cardinals got tangled up there. Yesner and one of his teammates kind of ran the same route, and they got tied up. There may have been some confusion, and it left them wide open. And Quinones, again, great in the pocket, great under pressure. He did a nice job picking up the blitz. Great touch pass on the outside, and it's 7-0 here already. This is looking very good for El Segundo so far.
Yeah, Andrew Pelk added the extra point. So it only took the Eagles about 5 plays to cover the yardage, which was a short field that they got as a result of the short kick. So it was a 58-yard march to a touchdown.
Well, and as you said in the opening bit of the telecast tonight, Diego, Quinones does a great job of getting all the receivers in the game. If you just look at that drive, I mean, really, that's kind of in a microcosm of their whole season. I mean, he's passed the ball to Tyler Murray. He's gotten the ball to Yesner. He's spreading the ball around to all these guys. And if you're the Cardinals, I mean, who do you choose to stop?
So a quick strike by the Eagles, and they lead it 7-0. Not even a minute has gone by in this game. And the Eagles already with 7 on the board. And here's Pelk's kickoff, which in contrast to the Lawndale kickoff is a good kickoff. And the ball brought back by Omar Curry to about the 18-yard line. So that's where Lawndale will take over for their first look on offense. They've had some injury problems, the Lawndale Cardinal, this year on offense. Some of their featured players, Travion Thomas, suffered a mild concussion. I think it was about 4 games ago. He's back today, though. There's the give to Thomas, and he picks up pretty good yardage. He picked up about 5. So, well, I stand corrected. That is Carlton Callaway. I thought it was number 3, but it's number 23. Picks up 5. So Ball out to about the 23 of Lawndale. 2nd and 5. Travion Thomas is sort of set off to one side, and the give again is to Carlton Callaway. Callaway picks up, pretty good yardage again. It's going to be 3rd and very short.
Yeah, it looks like the Cardinals are trying to catch El Segundo off guard here. I mean, everybody knows that Travion Thomas is going to get his touches tonight. And he's going to get the ball. And it looks like they're trying to give the ball to the up back. In this case, it's Carlton Callaway. And it looks like they're going to come out for measurement here. But they're trying to catch El Segundo off guard and try not to get them to focus so much on Thomas. And maybe this can open up a passing game. I think they're going to try to do some different things tonight than they've done earlier this season.
Well, interestingly enough, when Thomas and Rashad Scott were both injured a couple of games ago, they were both still out, and Callaway showed what he had. He had a very nice game against North 2 weeks ago where he carried 20 times for 121 yards, and he had a touchdown in that game as well. I think it was a long touchdown run, if I remember the newspaper account of the game. 34-yard touchdown run, something along those lines. So he's a capable back, and he's showing that right away tonight. So it's 3rd and inches, I believe. Let's see if they just go for the old quarterback sneak here. Collins is pretty good size. He's 6 foot, 165, and indeed they do. And that's a first down for Lawndale. Collins has only completed 12 passes all season long, Glenn. So you realize how little they throw the ball. Only 37 attempts. Now, in all fairness, he was injured part of this year. He missed a couple of games. There's a give again to Callaway. So Callaway, the featured back in this drive, and he picks up about 3 yards. That'll bring up a 2nd and, no, they're going to give him more than that. Giving him about 5. I stand corrected. So, ball at the 35 right now of Lawndale, and it's 2nd and 5. In motion, it's Thomas, but the give again is to Callaway, and Callaway showing no signs of slowing down. He's up to the 40.
Yeah, and he did a nice job there of making the first guy miss. And if you're the Cardinals, and which they rely heavily on their ground game, they're going to have a lot of success of making the first couple guys miss from El Segundo, since that really is their game plan, is to just run the football as they have all season.
Well, they picked up a first down there, so far so good for Lawndale, and this is what El Segundo has to be afraid of, that Lawndale is going to be successful running the ball as they have so far in this drive. It's early on in the game, 8:30 left in the first quarter, and it's a 1st and 10, and the Eagles look like they jumped there.
Yeah, we'll have to see if somebody didn't jump on the offensive line for the Cardinals, but it looked like it may be encroachment.
Yeah, it's against the Eagles, so that's going to give the Cardinals a 1st and 5, which is ideal for them, of course, because it certainly keeps the runs very much in order. The Cardinals have yet to have a 2nd and long in this drive. Every second down play has been 2nd and 5. This is 1st and 5, and here's our first look at Thomas. And Thomas, you see what a dynamic runner he is. He picks up about his average 7 yards. He just got on the back of his lineman, and I'm trying to pick out that number. I believe it was Brandon Johnson, and he just ran up the back of his lineman practically and picked up 7 yards, a first down. Now the ball is inside El Segundo territory. Here's a pitch to Thomas, and there's a fumble. And Travion Thomas fell on his own fumble, but the first pitch does not work for Lawndale.
Yeah, it looked like they were trying to surprise El Segundo there and run an option play to Thomas. Diego, they're doing a great job up front controlling the line of scrimmage. We were on the field before the game. I was walking by some of the players for Lawndale, and these are some big kids, 260, 255, 245, 230. in order to have success running the football, you've got to be able to control the line of scrimmage. And they've done an excellent job so far here in the first quarter on the road of controlling line of scrimmage, creating holes for their featured backs.
Well, this is their first second and long, but they keep it on the ground. It was second and about 13. So you see how reliant they are in the running game that they're going to run it on second and 13. Now they're successful picking up 5 or 6 yards there, but now it's going to set up their first third and long of the night. And let's see if the Cardinals air it out or not. It will be up to Mondo Padilla, their head coach. And this is, I remember from last season, well, we'll get back to that thought in just a second. They spent very short time in the huddle. Collins under center. And it's a misdirection, which is not going to work. They tried to give it to number 24, who is not on my roster. Well, yes, he is. I stand corrected. That is Carlos Lopez. It didn't work. They tried a kind of a misdirection play there, but the Eagles were wise to it. So Cardinals will be forced to punt. And it's a decent punt, which takes kind of a neutral bounce. And Yesner picks it up, and then he's clotheslined up high, tackled by Deshaun Hodges. After a okay punt from, I believe that was Jose Cifuentes who punted that ball. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, the Eagles will take over at their 28-yard line for their second possession of the night.
Even though that drive for the Cardinals, Diego, didn't yield any points, they were able to move the football. You know, they were pinned kind of pretty deep in their own territory, and they were able to get the ball close to midfield and try to pin El Segundo deep. So in a way, it was a good drive for the Cardinals.
There's a give to Mortison up the middle, and Mortison picks up good yardage, picks up about 6 yards. It'll bring up a 2nd and 4, maybe 2nd and 3. They're going to spot it pretty near the 35-yard line. So nice pickup for Gage Mortison.
And that's something we haven't talked about much this season, is the running attack of the Eagles. We've talked a lot about Quinones and the receivers, but you know, the departure of Chris Atmore last year has left a void. But Gage Mortison and Tyler Murray have done a nice job filling in those shoes.
There's another give, this time not quite as successful by Gage Mortison, but he's across the 35 to about the 36. He is averaging over 6 yards per carry as Mortison, and that's a pretty good average. So certainly a functional running game for the Eagles this year, no doubt about it, and it complements Quinones' passing very nicely.
Well, sure, and it takes pressure off Quinones. If you can establish the run, it obviously opens up some passing lanes for you.
So 3rd and about 3. Quinones is rolling out to his right. He airs it out for Kevin Post, but it's incomplete through his hands. He might have led him a little too far. The ball might have a little moisture on it, too. There's some moisture in the air. It's not raining, certainly, but I noticed as I came up to our booth here that the stands have a coating of moisture on them. Anyway, that 3rd down conversion not successful, so now the Eagles will be forced to punt.
I guess that's one of those negatives that the folks here in El Segundo have to live with, being so close to the ocean. We should all be so lucky.
So here's the punt, and it's going to take an El Segundo bounce all the way down to the 27-yard line. And I'm trying to see, we don't have a number 60 on our El Segundo roster. I'm going to look at the, oh yes, Justin McCullough. I'm sorry, 6'1", 205-pound freshman. And I find myself wondering if he's, a few years ago we had a young lady who was a very outstanding soccer goalie, Tabitha McCullough, here at El Segundo High. I find myself wondering if there's any relation, but I don't know. Anyway, 1st and 10 for the Cardinals, and flags flying. Looks like I think this might be on the Cardinals, might be an illegal procedure, but let's see what the indication is from the referees. No, it's against the Eagles, and that's the second time that they have been flagged for this offense. The Eagles have to be careful not to keep giving the Cardinals these 1st and 5 type situations, because that really feeds into their running game perfectly. Oh, a fumble, and I think the Eagles got it this time. Yes, they do. Let's see who fell on that ball. I believe it was Keegan Portillo. Not 100% sure about that, but there's the first big mistake of the game, and it's by the Cardinals of Lawndale. And the Eagles are, it's a little candy there a couple of nights after Halloween. Ball on the 28 of the Lawndale Cardinals. Did you see who fumbled that ball?
No, I didn't.
It's hard to pick up who they give it to some of the time, because they sort of run these misdirections in their backfield.
Yeah, if I had to guess, it looked like it may have been Carlton Callaway.
So the Eagles 1st and 10 deep in Lawndale territory, and Quinones airing it out, looking for Trevon Smith, who had beaten his man. He's covered out there, or, well, not so well, but by Markeith Kunjus, one of those odd names. And that ball just slipping through Trevon Smith's fingers. Back to pass again is Quinones. He goes for Tyler Murray this time, and Murray's got some room to run and picks up a few yards, maybe 6 yards, before Omar Curry trips him up. So that'll bring up about a 3rd and a long 4 maybe. The Eagles would dearly love to pick up this first down, because I believe that would put them inside Andrew Pelk's kicking range. They're probably just a little bit outside it right now.
And if you're the Cardinals here, it's really important that you get a stop. You made a mistake, turn the ball over deep in your own territory, but you've really got to be able to stop the Eagles here and hopes they don't get any more points on the board in the first quarter.
Big 3rd down play. Quinones airs it out, and it's thrown behind his intended receiver, Yesner, and falls incomplete. The ball also, I think, was tipped by a defensive back. Might have been Omar Curry, who got just a finger on the ball. But ball was thrown behind Yesner. So that's a 4th down, and it looks like it's 4-down territory for the Eagles. They're going to go for it here.
I think this is a great call. You're at home.
You're up by 7. Why not? 3 receivers split wide to the left, but he's going right is Quinones, and he's got his man, and that's going to be a 1st down. This time Yesner corrals that ball, which was well thrown, and it's a pickup of about 7 yards and a big 1st down for the Eagles.
Yeah, and really can't say enough about Quinones. I mean, he's really a different player than he was a season ago. He has a lot of confidence rolling out, finding the open man, putting a lot of zip on the ball. Great pass, great execution on 4th down to keep this drive alive.
Yesner came into this game with he's got 31 catches and 579 yards. He certainly eclipsed the 600-yard mark already tonight. Quinones now with a draw to Murray. Murray taking it up the middle, and a short pickup there. Picked up maybe 2 or 3 yards. Defense of Lawndale did a good job there. So they're actually giving, I thought he only picked up 2 or 3. They're giving him 5. The ball is at the 10 right now. So 2nd and 5. Quinones for Matt Ash, and it's a touchdown. That ball completed to Matt Ash and a 10-yard strike. And Ash, who was ineligible earlier in the year, makes a nice little catch on sort of a quick slant there, and Quinones hit him right between the numbers. So the Eagles jumping out early here, and this is the situation that Lawndale dreaded. Certainly they cannot fall too far behind because they just don't have that explosive type of offense to catch up.
No, and they made a mistake deep in their own territory, and they paid the price. And if you're El Segundo, aside from a couple penalties, they're playing a pretty good game so far in this first quarter. And, I don't know if we touched base on in the opening, Diego, but, on paper, these teams look to appear very in opposite directions. They're going totally different directions. Cardinals come in at 0-3 in league play. The Eagles are 2-1. They win tonight. They're going to have a good shot at making the playoffs. El Segundo looks very balanced on offense, strong defense, but they still have a game to play. And if you're the Cardinals, you can't go on the road, make mistakes early in games, because El Segundo has proven throughout the course of the season that they've been able to capitalize on turnovers. They've been able to turn those turnovers into points.
Well, they certainly did that time, and now after the point after by Andrew Pelk, it's 14-0 El Segundo with just 2.5 minutes left in the first quarter. So El Segundo, much like last week, jumping out in front. And against a team that relies very much on the run, it's a position that you want to be in if you're the Eagles. So there's a kickoff by Pelk, and it's brought back all the way to the 30, 35. He's still on his feet. There is a flag, though, across the 40 by Omar Curry, but this one might be coming back.
Yeah, it looked like Cameron Garlitos did a nice job in the pursuit there, bringing down Omar Curry. Let's see where this flag's for.
And it's going to be an illegal block in the back, probably, most likely, or, well, illegal block is what that indicates to me.
I expected El Segundo to come out, maybe look a little rusty. A few players we touched upon earlier had the flu earlier in the week. They didn't have a real strong week of practice, couldn't go at full speed. We understand Trevor Richter was involved in an automobile crash. He's fine. He was clear to play. So they didn't have a great week of practice. Not everyone was there. Not everyone was going full speed. So 14-0, I think, if you're Coach Shevlin, this is a great start considering the events of this past week.
So now Lawndale will try to get it going on offense with their quarterback Justin Collins under center. And there's the give to Smith. No, they're sticking with Callaway. I always see the 3, and I think it's Travion Smith, but they're sticking with Carlton Callaway, and I wonder if that's got anything to do with Travion Thomas. I was calling him Travion Smith because we've got Trevon Smith. That's what's going on. So it's Travion Thomas. I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact that he did suffer a concussion a few weeks ago. We'll probably see him later in the game, I have a feeling, much more. Now we have a flag, and it's against the Eagles. That's the third time tonight that they have been flagged for a encroachment. And that's going to give Lawndale a first down across the 30-yard line.
That was by freshman Justin McCullough,
who we called as the punter earlier. And there's a give to Travion Smith, and no, Travion Thomas. I correct myself yet again. Maybe I'll get it right before the game's over. And a big loss. Good defensive play there by the Eagles.
Yeah, it looked like Kyle Yatabe was in on the tackle.
Good job by Kyle, and a big loss on the play. They lost about 5 yards. And I'm wondering if maybe Thomas might be, a little affected by the concussion. Sometimes, even though Mondo Padilla told us it was a mild concussion, and here's Callaway. Callaway is going gangbusters tonight so far. He's probably already racked up about 40 yards in this game or thereabouts, and he picked up about 7 or 8 yards there, but still it's going to bring up a third and about 5.
Well, you did touch on something there, Diego. I think if you're the coach for the Cardinals, obviously you want to protect your kids, and he may just be a little mentally shaken still in the sense that he doesn't have all his confidence back yet, after a concussion. So
we'll have to see how that develops. Carlton Callaway again, and I think he's got the first down. Great second effort at the end there after he was wrapped up. I believe it was Luke Yesner who had him in his arms. No, I stand corrected. That was number 44. And there is somebody who is not on our El Segundo roster, 44. But anyway, a first down, I believe, for Lawndale. So that's the end of the first quarter. And a very good one for the Eagles as they lead it 14-0. 2 touchdown passes, one to Yesner and another one to Matt Ash. And one of the drives, obviously a result of a turnover by Lawndale. And Eagles were very opportunistic to cash that in. So they've got a 14-0 lead, and so far so good for Coach Shevlin and his troops.
Now let's talk a little bit about the playoff picture, Diego. I know last season the Eagles, were picked probably to go to the playoffs. They finished a disappointing 2-3 in the Pioneer League, 4-5-1 overall. And I know Coach Shevlin was disappointed in their finish last season. He thought they really had a shot to even possibly go undefeated. And I think this year, after graduating a lot of kids, the expectation level and the bar was set a little lower. And I think this team has really come together. They've gelled throughout the season. They're playing great football. Mike Quinones has done a phenomenal job at quarterback for the Eagles, spreading the ball around. The coaching staff has made some adjustments, moving Trevor Richter to the defensive tackle position from defensive end. So I think this team can do fairly well in the playoffs. They're playing with a lot of confidence right now. They had a big win last week, and they don't fear anybody. I think they're doing a good job. They're not intimidated by anybody. They come out, they're showing poise and confidence, and I expect them to go pretty far in the playoffs.
Well, it'll be an interesting thing to watch, assuming that they do get in there. And here's Thomas, and he's broken through. Thomas is across midfield to the 40, 35, 30, and he's just brought down at the last second. Great job by Luke Yesner, but not before a huge pickup by Travion Thomas, and no ill effects from that concussion showing on that run, but of course nobody got a finger on him until Yesner saved the touchdown.
Yeah, actually it looked like it was Andrew Pelk, number 6, who actually got.
Was it?
Yeah, it looked like it was Andrew Pelk who actually tracked down Thomas, but that was definitely a touchdown-saving tackle. And if you're the Cardinals here, you've got to get points on the board here.
Well, that was, 10 yards and then another 31 yards. So that was a 41-yard scamper by Travion Thomas. First time he's really done damage tonight, but it was noticeable. And there's a short pickup. Let's see if they went back to Callaway. I believe they did. They picked up about 1 or 2 yards. It's tough slogging in that middle of the field, as you mentioned earlier, Glenn, because it is so worn down that it's tough to get traction. It's just there's no grass there. It's just dirt. And sometimes it's tough to kind of get going. 2nd and 8. Ball is now in the red zone. First time that the Cardinals have had it there. And there's a good defensive play by the Eagles. They snuffed that run before it could ever really get going. As the numbers indicate, very much a running attack. Cardinals haven't put it up in this game. They have not thrown a single pass. 10:20 left in the first half. And 14-0 for the Eagles. And there's another fumble, and the Eagles again, I believe, recovered. Let's see what this. I'm not sure. They had a chance to recover. I know that. And
actually, it was recovered by the Cardinals. It looked like Randy Gerber.
Yeah, Randy Gerber looked like he had a shot at it.
Yeah, it looked like he did. The Cardinals did a nice job recovering. It looked like there was just some miscommunication there on the snap.
So I believe that brings up a third down. They've got it as fourth on the sideline, but I thought it was third, but they're not changing it. They're leaving it as fourth down. Did you think it was fourth?
No, it was third down.
There's another fumble. It's not going to make any difference. I mean, just complete breakdown here by the Cardinals, by the Cardinals, and the Eagles will take over and down. So that was correct. The down marker was correct, and I was off. Just total, shooting themselves in the foot there. 2 consecutive plays, ball fumbled. They were lucky to, well, it didn't make any difference on that, whether they recovered or not, but unless the Eagles would have run back the fumble.
And you touched on this earlier. There's a lot of moisture in the air here. The bleachers are all wet. The field is very wet and damp, and the ball could be very wet. Maybe they're just having some difficulty. Collins, as you mentioned, hasn't played every game this season, so we don't know what the relationship is there with him in the center. So that, you're on the road, crowds into the game, wet ball. It's unfortunate because they put together a nice-looking drive there. If they could have gotten some points, they'd be right back in this game. So let's see what else Segundo can do here on offense.
There's, I believe that's Andrew Pelk being talked to by one of the assistants. Maybe a little talk about some footwork, perhaps. I'm not sure what that's all about. 2nd and long for the Eagles. That first down run was negated. There's a throw over the middle, and that's going to be a big gainer. That's Rashad Nassari, and boy, we haven't called him hardly at all catching the ball this year, but he was a quick throw over the middle and a long run after the catch. So a 25-yard pickup there for the Eagles, 24 yards, let's call it, all the way to their 40. I don't think I've called Rashad Nassari catching a ball this year. So yet another receiver getting into the act here.
Yeah, he did a nice job finding the soft spot in the defense.
He's the tight end. Did a great job there of getting loose. Quinones on the rollout, airing it out, and Trevon Smith, I think he tried to run with it before he actually had it. That was the problem there, but because the ball was thrown well. So that'll bring up a 2nd and 10. Now Nassari and Mortison are checking in. Schaffhauser and Post are checking out for the Eagles. John Yesner split wide to the left. In the slot, well, I can't quite see his numbers. Smith is wide to the right, but it's a draw play. And that's Mortison with a pickup of, let's call it 3 or 4. It's going to bring up a 3rd and 7, let's call it. 8 minutes left to go in this first half. Eagles in control. They lead at 14-0. And right now they're slowly approaching midfield. Quinones has 4 receivers in this set, 3 of them to his right. He's looking to his right. He airs it out, but there was a little bit of a miscommunication, I have a feeling, between perhaps Nassari and Quinones, or the 2 receivers in the area were Nassari and Post, but that ball was well overthrown.
Yeah, it looked like of just a breakdown. It looked like one of the receivers maybe posted, ran the wrong route on that one.
So the Eagles forced to punt.
And the Cardinals should get the ball back here in decent field position.
Omar Curry back deep, as well as Brian Stevens. Stevens is dangerous. And now the Eagles, McCullough fumbles the snap, and this is trouble. The Eagles recover it, but they will give the Lawndale Cardinals a short field here as the fumbled snap will set it up on the 36 of El Segundo.
Boy, what a break for the Cardinals. They're going to get the ball here, roughly around the 36-yard line. And I really can't stress this enough. If they're going to have any shot in this football game, they've got to put some points on the board here in the first half. On that miscue by El Segundo. And you're going to run into those things when you have a freshman back there at punter. Wet ball, cold night.
Well, this is certainly a golden opportunity for Lawndale, and Thomas picks up about 5 yards on first down there, and the ball at the 32. Let's call it 4 yards, 2nd and 6. Collins gives it again. This time it's to, I believe it's Callaway. And he picks up a first down without too much of a problem there. So this is a real threat. Let's see if the Cardinals can sustain. And you see the umpire drying off the ball in between plays. So there's no doubt that that ball is a little slick out there. But, both teams are facing the same conditions. So 1st and 10 from the Eagle 25. Collins gives it to Callaway, and Callaway finds a seam, and he's all the way inside the 10-yard line. A pickup of about 17 yards on that play.
And that was just a huge hole that the offensive line opened for Callaway. I mean, you could have driven a truck through that hole. As I mentioned earlier in the first quarter, the one thing that I like that the Cardinals are doing, and they're doing a great job of this, is they are winning that battle at the line of scrimmage. They're creating some holes for their runners, and they're able to move the ball. I mean, I think the last time, obviously, there was a turnover, some bad snaps, a couple penalties where their drives have stalled, but if they can cut down on those things in the second half, we could have a ball game here.
Well, the Eagles now call timeout, and they're going to talk it over. There you see them on the left side of your screen, a little huddle there. This is the first, well, not the first threat, but certainly the second threat by Lawndale. They shot themselves in the foot the first time around by fumbling. And that's an issue when you can't throw the ball. I mean, they have not put the ball up in this game thus far. And when you got to run it every time, why, you stand the chance of a fumble, of course. Let's see if they can avoid it this time against the Eagles. So it's a 1st and goal to goal. Callaway and Thomas are in the backfield for the Cardinals. And there's the give to Callaway, and he's into the end zone. Touchdown! So a 6-yard or perhaps 7-yard scamper by Carlton Callaway. And that is his 4th touchdown run of the year. So Cardinals right in this game here as they close the gap to 14-6. Now let's see if this backup kicker, Jesse Perez, can handle the point after try. We talked to Armando Padilla before the game started, and I asked him, can your kicker handle the PATs and the field goals? And he said he felt he could, but not that time. Well, the line protection broke down as well.
Yeah, I think half of the Eagles' defensive front was in the backfield there to block that kick, so it never really had a chance. But they're only down 8, and the Cardinals are right here in this game. Again, a couple penalties on the Eagles. They turn the ball over in their own territory, and they've let the Cardinals creep back into this one. So they've got to be careful here. This next series for El Segundo could really be a game changer. They've got to establish a long drive, not make any mistakes, try to get some points on the board before half with 6 minutes left to go. and try to take some of the momentum away from the Cardinals. You know, the one thing you don't want Lawndale doing is going into that locker room pumped up and thinking they have a shot to win this game. I mean, let's not forget, they're 3-5 overall, winless in the Pioneer League. They're still searching for that elusive first win.
Well, certainly, yeah, the first win in the Pioneer League, but they know they can win some games. So, as you mentioned, yeah, you don't want them believing in themselves as they go into that locker room. There's another very short kick, and it's a fumble by the Eagles. And let's see who's got it. It's on that far sideline. I'm having a tough time telling.
Look at the officials are signaling that
the Eagles,
got
the Eagles picked it up. Scary moment there for the Eagles. Not sure who got that ball. It might have been Sean Groves. But anyway, I'm sure the sideline is heaving a sigh of relief there.
Yeah, and again, I think they're just trying to catch El Segundo off guard. They're catching by surprise. You know, little soft kick. Once it goes 10 yards, it's anybody's ball. So, and they almost came up with it.
Yeah, that was close. They almost came up with it is right. The Eagles, however, the flip side of it is that the Eagles get a short field. So the ball at around the 43 of the Eagles. Quinones over the middle again for Nassari, and he makes the catch, but he is pasted after he makes the catch by Carlos Lopez, a 5'11", 180 senior. And Nassari paid the price on that. Paid the price on that play. Pickup of about 6 yards.
If you remember, that was the play that worked for El Segundo on the last drive. It went for about 18, 19 yards.
Right, they used that play, on the last drive. Right now, El Segundo right at midfield, or perhaps ever so slightly inside the Cardinals' territory. 5:44 left in the first half. El Segundo up 14-6. They would dearly love to chew up some clock and score as the first half expires. Quinones under pressure. He airs it out, and it's almost caught by Schaffhauser, and he is in pain as he got hit. That ball just through his hands. Joey Schaffhauser got hit just as he was trying to make that catch.
Yeah, and it wasn't a bad throw by Quinones. He just threw into double coverage, so it would have been tough for Schaffhauser to come down with that ball, and he really took a shot. You know, it looked like Trevon Smith was open on the near side of the field. Quinones may have tried to force that one a bit.
Well, the ball was there, but as we mentioned earlier, there's a little bit of moisture in the air, and the ball just slipped through Schaffhauser's hands. 3rd and 3, Quinones in the pocket, going deep. He's going for Yesner. He's got him down that far sideline. And Yesner must have stepped out of bounds, but not before they pick up big yardage.
Yeah, and Yesner's a big kid, big, strong, and he's really Quinones' go-to guy this year. He probably has over 600 yards this season, 6 or 7 touchdowns. He's the big play guy for this El Segundo offense, averaging almost 20 yards a catch. And you see why there on that one. He has great separation from the defensive back. Nice pass by Mike.
Well, it's a big mismatch because Omar Curry's trying to cover him out there. He's only 5'6", and Yesner's over 6 foot, so it's just a huge mismatch out there, and Quinones knows it. So first down and 10 from the 15, flags flying all over the place after that nice 35-yard pickup by the Eagles. Let's see what this is all about. I have a feeling it's going to be against the Eagles, and it is, as they must have a motion penalty here. It'll set up a 1st and 15. Push the ball back to the 20. So 1st and 15 for the Eagles. Quinones now sacked, and that's something that we haven't talked about, and we probably should have. That was Arnie Asanza. That Lawndale does have some statistics which indicate that they can sack. They've got the leader in the area tied for the lead. Jose Cifuentes, I believe, is his name. Number 4. He's got 11 sacks. And they got a couple other guys with 5. So certainly an aspect of their game that exists, and the Eagles are going to have to deal with it. That's the first time they've gotten through tonight, but an inopportune moment as the Eagles were facing a 1st and long. Now here's over the middle, and it's a touchdown to Post. No, he dropped it. He dropped it. Oh my, I thought it was a touchdown because he had it right in his hands. The ball was maybe a little bit behind him, but it was a catchable ball.
Yeah, it was. Absolutely was a catchable ball. It was a nice job, Quinones, getting out of the pocket under duress, rolling out to the near side of the field, and it just looked like Post couldn't hold on. I thought he had it as well, Diego. Again, maybe a wet ball. Just he looked like he was trying to turn around. But if you're Lawndale here, they're making the most of that penalty against El Segundo. They came back at the sack. That's one reason why Mike hasn't been sacked a lot this season. You know, he does a nice job rolling out, and that makes the defense think twice.
Quinones in the pocket now over the middle, and his receiver fell down, Kevin Post. And I think he was tripped, but there's no call, and I think the trip might have been inadvertent.
Yeah, it looked like it just was an inadvertent trip. Post looking for the call. He's not going to get it.
So now it's a 4th down, and again, this is sort of 4-down territory, really, for the Eagles. So they're going to go for it. Or maybe Pelk is going to try a field goal, and this is a long one. This is going to be a 42-yarder, and I'm going to go out on a limb here. Well, I think this might be, well, he may have the range. He may have the range, but it's right on the border. And he puts it up, and it is good. He had plenty of leg. He had more. He could have kicked it from 5 yards further back. So great job by Andrew Pelk, and I stand corrected. He had plenty of range.
Yeah, he hit connected on that one solid, and for the Eagles, that's a great drive to come away with some points. They had some miscues there. They had a penalty which pushed them back a little bit, and a sack, a breakdown on the offensive line, but they did a nice job. They came away with points, and if they can hold the Cardinals here, they'll be going in with a 11-point cushion at half.
Well, there's still plenty of time, 3.5 minutes, although it's harder to march downfield in a hurry when you run the ball a lot, unless, of course, you reel off a huge run like Travion Thomas did that last drive. But the running game tends to chew up the clock much faster, although Lawndale still has, I believe, all their timeouts. But a great kick by Pelk there. The Eagles got to feel good about coming away from that with points because it was headed in the wrong direction there for a little bit.
Yeah, and if anything, I mean, that's going to give him some confidence and give Shevlin confidence in him if they do make the playoffs. I mean, because some of these games could be tight, and if you're going to get points, you're going to be able to make those long kicks.
So Pelk with a short kick, and Stevens, a fumble by Deshaun Hodges. I stand corrected, and it looks like the Eagles may have it. Let's see, we don't have an official notice, an official indication. The officials are huddling, and it's near the Eagle sideline. You know they're getting plenty of advice from a lot of Eagles over there.
Yeah, including Coach Shevlin right in the official's ear there. It looks like it's going to go to the Cardinals.
And the Eagles are upset on the sidelines. They are jawing vociferously.
I think what happened, Diego, the player was down by contact. He fumbled the ball. It looked like he recovered his own fumble, and he was down by contact in the initial El Segundo player. I'm not sure who it was, as there was a pile up there, touched him, and it looked like they may have stripped the ball after he was down. So I think that's an accurate call by the official. Nice job.
Now it's a 1st and 10 for Lawndale at their own 37, and the give is to Callaway, and he picks up about 3 or 4 yards across the 40 to the 41. That'll bring up a 2nd and 6.
Yeah, nice tackle, nice hit by number 11 for El Segundo, Kyle Yatabi.
Yatabi, I believe, built his way up from the JV, and now he's really a mainstay of this varsity team here. I believe he's a senior, if I remember correctly. Well, let's see. I may be wrong. We're going to double check that. No, he's a sophomore. So, my God, he was, because I remember him on JV, I have a feeling. So that must have been just last year. But he is very much, my mind is playing tricks on me now because I remember him on this. Was he on the varsity last year, Kyle Itabi? Do you remember?
I believe I remember calling his name
I do
times
too.
last
So he
year.
must have been on the as a varsity player as a freshman, which is a little rare. Now Lawndale is chewing up a lot of clock here as they're sort of nearing midfield, but there's only 2:22 left as they pick up that first down.
Well, as you mentioned, Diego, for Lawndale, they can ill afford to get behind by too much more. I mean, I don't know if they've thrown a pass all night.
No, they have not. They have not put the ball up.
No, and this is just eating up a tremendous amount of clock. You're just going to run the ball. They may very well run out of time here in the first half.
2 minutes left. Collins under center. There's that little misdirection, and the Eagles are all over it, led by John Yesner. The give was to Carlos Lopez, but it's a minimal pickup. And, yeah, this isn't going to get it done unless they break one off and, pick up 20 or 30 yards on a run. Now there's 1:35 left. Eagles leading at 17-6 in the first half. And Lawndale approaching midfield here. Ball on the 49 of Lawndale. In motion, and here's the first pass. There's a flag on the play. The pass is incomplete, so the play was a bit of a fiasco. Let's see what this flag is all about. The intended receiver, it's holding against the Cardinals. I think the intended receiver was Brian Stevens, but he never really turned to, the timing just wasn't there at all, and you see how the passing game is just not polished at all on this Lawndale side.
And they're fortunate that ball wasn't intercepted. Collins threw it a little low, but had that been a little higher, there were two defenders, Eagle defenders in the area, and it could have very well been an interception, but holding against the Cardinals will push him back, and I would think if you're Coach Padilla, you're probably just going to hand off once more here and just run out the clock and go into the halftime only down by 11.
Yeah, that pushes the Cardinals all the way back to their 39. So it brings up a second and a mile, 2nd and 20. Nope, he's going to try it in the air. Here's Collins, but I think he's looking to run the ball more than throw it towards the end there. His intended receiver was Markeith Kunjus, and incomplete. So the two passing plays that we've seen, the Cardinals have looked just not polished.
Yeah,
and not ready to, not a good passing offense.
No, and I actually don't know why you'd try to throw the ball there. I mean, if anything, you want to keep the clock running. If they have another incomplete pass here, if they're going to do that, they could give El Segundo a shot to get more points before the first half.
Well, I think Coach Padilla heard you as Thomas trying to run away from a tackler. I think it was Andrew Horn, and he did a good job of hanging on to Travion Thomas. And so it's a gain of a few yards, but it's still 4th and very long, excuse me.
Yeah, and here you go. I'm not sure why they were trying to throw the ball. Shevlin has asked for teammates to call, or squad to call a timeout. They've called a timeout. They've got 44 seconds left. Obviously, the Cardinals are going to punt. El Segundo is going to get the ball back in fairly good shape. With the passing attack they have,
yeah,
and obviously with Pelk's range, as we saw a few minutes ago, they might be able to come away with some points here.
Especially since the Cardinals' kicking game, as we've seen, is a little bit shaky.
Yeah, those are really some.
Although their punter is Justin Collins, and I think he is their regular punter.
Yeah, I really can't understand why Padilla would throw the ball there and not just be content to run out the clock. I mean, it's not like they were in Eagle territory. That's really inexplicable.
So now 4th down. Collins is back to punt, and the back deep to receive it is John Yesner for the Eagles. Collins will be hitting this ball right around his 35-yard line if all goes well. And a pretty decent punt, a little bit of a line drive, and it's fumbled by Yesner, but he picks it up. Good job to stick with it. That could have been a disaster for the Eagles, but John Yesner did a good job and picked that up, and he was brought down quickly by a gang of tacklers from Lawndale. The Eagles will get the ball at around their 33-yard line. They have 36 seconds, but with the Eagles passing attack, like you mentioned, Glenn, depending on how adventurous Coach Shevlin feels, but I think he's going to try and make something happen here. The Eagles, the ball is at the 33 of the Eagles, so let's see what Quinones runs here on this first play from scrimmage. Just 36 seconds left, so not a lot of time. There's a blitz coming. Quinones has time, though, and he's got his receiver, Thomas, Trevon Smith, I'm sorry, and it's going to go all the way into the touchdown. That is a huge play, a 67-yard strike to Trevon Smith, and it's nice to see those two hook up. Trevon Smith.
Yeah, Trevon Smith.
That is his first touchdown catch of the year.
When it goes for a big one, and that's really a game-changing play if you ask me. I mean, that gives the El Segundo team a lot of confidence and momentum going into this locker room, and boy, is he fast.
Well, Quinones made a nice throw. They got burnt by the blitz because I did see a linebacker or two trying to crash through there. Here's the point after try, and it's good. And you talked about it, Glenn. You know, Armando Padilla rolled the dice there with his non-existent passing game, and it burned him because he had to give that ball up, and it just kills Lawndale here. Now it's 24-6, and that's a whole different ball of wax from 17-6.
Boy, it is, and I really got to go back to those the poor decision-making on the part of the Cardinals there. Right? I mean, that's just inexplicable. I don't know why they would throw the ball. You know, I would think you're on the road, just going to the locker room. Fortunate you're only down 17-6. Your team has made some mistakes in the first half. And as I said, El Segundo has been great at this all year, capitalizing on turnovers and mistakes made by the opposing teams. And, you know, it seems that Smith, Nassari, they found a soft spot in that Cardinal defense. You know, that middle part of the field, you know, they're getting beyond the linebackers. They found a soft spot, and that's probably the fourth play tonight we've seen go for at least 15 or more yards. In that case, it went to Smith for
over 60 yards.
For a touchdown. And he's lightning in a bottle, isn't he, that kid? I mean,
yeah, he took off. I mean, good job by Quinones. He hit him right in stride, and he was gone.
Yeah, you're not catching him. A couple of the Cardinal players, I think, had the angle, but you're not going to catch him.
Here's the kickoff from Pelk. It's along the ground, and it's corralled by Brian Stevens, and he gets up to about the 20 to about the 30, and that's where Lawndale will have a shot, but not much of a shot. There's only 19 seconds left, and they're going to have to run the ball. So the Eagles, you know, I looked at some of the box scores in the Daily Breeze as part of my research, and I noticed that Lawndale had some poor they certainly had a poor second quarter last week. They were outscored 28-3 last week versus Torrance in a game that they ultimately lost 48-16, and so you kind of sense that they have a little bit of a problem in the second quarter. Here's Travion Smith, and he's trying to make something happen. He's still on his feet as he approaches midfield. So a pretty nice little run there. Travion Thomas. This is killing me that they have a Trevon Smith and a Travion Thomas. It's just doing me in this game. But about a 22-yard pickup there. And still 9 seconds left, so the half's not over.
Well, we won't pick on you too badly, Diego. I mean, they're both number 3 after all. They have similar names, both incredibly athletic. And they're both doing a nice job tonight.
So now there's a timeout called by Lawndale. They want to get something done, but how can you when you don't have a passing game and you've got to go 53 yards in one play. I mean, the Eagles just have to be aware of those three running backs and just make sure that you've got those three guys accounted for on this play, and you're going to go into the locker room with a nice fat 18-point lead. Let's see what happens. But we saw the two passing plays that the Cardinals attempted, and they just looked out of sync and very unsure of themselves.
Maybe this timeout was taken to put in some type of play, a trick play. I don't know what you would call here other than just throw it as far as you can and hope for a defensive penalty here before the half. I'm sure they're going to come here with 3 or 4 wide receivers.
Rolling out is Collins. He's going to air it out for Markeith Cungus. And Garlitos was all over that attempt, and still 2 seconds left, so they're going to have one more try. But even so, it doesn't look like Collins has enough arm to really get it as deep as you need, unless, of course, the receiver gets behind the last defender. Garlitos did a good job on that play.
Well, why not take your shot? I mean, you know.
Sure, you can just throw it as far as you can and hope.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the field is very worn down. Maybe the defensive back slips. You have a guy that's wide open. 2 seconds left. El Segundo's not going to get the ball back before the end of the half. So,
sure, the old Hail Mary. Let's see. There's a similar rollout from Collins, and he's going to just air it out, but much shorter pass. Looking for Markeith Cungus again. He was open, actually, but the ball falls incomplete. So that's the end of the first half here, as the Eagles have taken control versus the Cardinals of Lawndale. They lead it 24-6. And we'll be back with second half action. Be sure to keep it right here. So second half action is just about to get underway as the Eagles will kick off to the Cardinals of Lawndale. Eagles with a comfortable lead. They're up by 18 points, 24-6. So, Glenn, very much the game has unfolded as we thought it would. The Cardinals, you know, the running game has had some success, but not quite enough to negate some of their mistakes, whether it was fumbles or a little bit of a tactical mistake there at the end of the first half really hurt them.
Yeah, you know, it's been a sloppy first half, Diego. I think on both sides of the ball, you know, for both teams. There have been some dropped balls on punts and kickoffs, some fumbles on the exchanges. I don't know if it's just due to the sloppy conditions or what have you, but yeah, this is kind of how we expected the game to go, and I don't foresee anything changing unless El Segundo has a lot of miscues in the second half and creates a short field for the Cardinals. I really don't see there's any way with their one-dimensional offense that they could get their way back into this game.
So a short kickoff by Pelk is handled by Callaway, and Lawndale will have certainly decent field position to start off the second half at their 37, it looks like, 37 and a half maybe. So that's where they'll start with Justin Collins, their quarterback, and their setbacks, and it looks like they're going to stick with the game plan, and the give is up the middle to Callaway. Callaway picks up about 3, and that'll bring up a 2nd and 7, ball at the 41-yard line. And, yeah, I mean, they really don't have another option that they can go to. It's not like they can suddenly start airing it out, because as we saw, the 4 passes that they did attempt in the first half, none of them were really even that close to being complete. So 2nd and 7. There's a give to Travion Smith, and he picks, no, I said it again, Travion Thomas. I probably will not get it right by the end of the game. Travion Thomas, short gain, pickup of about 2. So
Yeah,
that's a great job by the defense.
And I think really Coach Padilla is doing everything he can with the talent, the kids he has. I mean, clearly Travion Thomas and Omar Curry, Carlton Callaway, these are clearly the most athletic kids on their squad, and he's got to do everything possible to get the ball in their hands, and he's done a good job of it tonight. Unfortunately, those are really the only 3 options for the Cardinals.
So it seems. 3rd and about 6. And here's a little rollout. He's airing it out for Markeith Kungius, and incomplete. Markeith Kungius got open back there, and had he thrown the ball perhaps a split second earlier, Kungius might have caught. He still had a chance to catch that ball.
Yeah, he did. He did a nice job coming back to the ball. He saw that it was underthrown a little bit, came back to the ball, but he did have his man beat, who was Trevon Smith. It could have been a big play for the Cardinals, but again, it's been a story of missed opportunities and miscues, really, for Lawndale tonight.
Well, that was probably the best-looking passing play they've had, and a receiver just couldn't quite corral the ball. There's a nice punt, and let's see if it's going to be a break for El Segundo. No, this is going to be inside the 5, so a great job by Lawndale.
Well, that was a booming kick by Justin Collins. I mean, that kick, 50 yards, I would imagine.
Yeah, when you add the roll, it certainly is a 50-yard kick.
And I think it really caught El Segundo by surprise. I forget who was back there, but
I think it was Yesner.
Yesner, yeah, I think you're right. I think it was Yesner, and it just caught him by surprise. The ball sailed over his head. He wasn't expecting it. And if you're the Cardinals, it's a break. I mean, you got to take the breaks we can get them, and that's a break. You've got El Segundo here pinned deep on their own 3.5, 4-yard line. So let's see what happens.
So Quinones will throw the ball. That's a little bit of a surprise. He's got Yesner open, and it's caught. And Yesner's going to go all the way. Nobody will catch John Yesner. That could be a record breaker for the Eagles. We will have to see if we can get some kind of word on that. But that is a 97-yard touchdown pass down the sideline to John Yesner, and that's a backbreaker.
Boy, that really is, and what a throw by Quinones. I mean, I actually thought that he overthrew Yesner. He really led Yesner a lot, but Yesner's great speed, great closing speed, really came up to the ball, and once he caught it, he made a nice move. Did you see that move he made around the 25, 30-yard line? He made a nice little cut, and he was gone.
And now they tack on a 2-point conversion for good measure, and that is the absolute backbreaker in this game. Glenn, there's no way Lawndale is gonna snap back from this. That is just psychologically it's a crusher too, because you thought you had the team pinned deep in their own end of the field, and on one play they just wipe you out with a 96-yard touchdown. That is, I don't have the El Segundo record book with me, but that could very well be the longest passing play.
You don't see a lot of those plays in high school that go for that many yards, that's for sure. And what a gutsy call on Shevlin's part to throw the ball on first down on your own 3.5-yard line, deep in your own territory, where an interception, a fumbled snap, lots of bad things can happen. And, boy, they went for the jugular, and they got it. And that should really put this one on ice, I would say, for El Segundo. I mean, what a great, great play.
We talked a little bit earlier how there was a big mismatch on that corner. Yesner had a mismatch all game long, and it showed up there again as he just blew by his defender. And I believe the defender is Omar Curry. I'm not 100% sure, but anyway, huge play, and now Lawndale is really in a position where they've been all too often this season. They are just down big, and no way to crawl back in it. They just don't have the passing game to do it. If you're Coach Mondo Padilla, you just have to stick with what you got and hope that you can sustain, a drive long enough to narrow the score a little bit. Let's see what they do here. I doubt they'll come up throwing. And it's going to be Travion Thomas. Corrected myself pretty quickly there, but still got it wrong. Pickup of about 6 yards. And bring up, let's say 5 yards. Bring up a 2nd and 5. Nine and a half minutes left in the third quarter, and El Segundo all over Lawndale. Here's a give to a player who slipped down. I believe that might have been Grant Foreman.
I think it was actually Brian Stevens. It looked like number...
Was it 21?
Yeah, it looked like number 20. Brian Stevens has come into the game now for Lawndale, 5'5", 140-pound sophomore running back. And again, that's in a worn down section of the field.
Yeah, he slipped down on the worn down field there. You could see it. So it's a 3rd and 5. Ball at about the 26 of Lawndale. And there's a give to Callaway. He's going to pick up a 1st down and more. Nice run there, about a 14-yarder for Carlton Callaway. He's been the big running back tonight for Lawndale. Came into the game with 65 carries, 441 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And tonight, he is certainly adding to that total. He's probably got about close to 60 yards, if not that much already tonight. So 1st down at the 41. There's Callaway again, and 9 or 10 yards. Another 1st down.
Yeah,
it's like 10 yards.
I think what you're seeing tonight, the reason why the Cardinals are controlling the line of scrimmage, I think a big reason that we haven't touched upon yet is the fact that Trevor Richter isn't in there on defense. When I spoke to Coach Shevlin before the game, he said, he was involved in an automobile accident, Richter was, earlier in the week, and he was cleared by physicians to play. But I think he just wants to play him one way tonight, give his body a little bit of a break. So he's one of their biggest run defenders. He's one of those big guys that clogs the middle. And if you look at what the Cardinals have been doing tonight, they've been running a lot between the tackles. And that's an area where Trevor Richter being there, filling up those gaps. He's a 6'5", 270-pound junior. So I think that's why one of the reasons why the Cardinals are having a lot of success running the ball. And I know some of the other kids are only playing one way tonight.
Travion Thomas, he picks up about 10 yards there. So now Cardinals are, showing that running game that is their weapon, and they're marching the ball downfield. Now the Eagles want to regroup a little bit as a result of this little drive that Lawndale's got going, and they called timeout. Lawndale has moved the ball inside the Eagle 35 to the Eagle 34 on a drive that started on Lawndale's 23-yard line. So they've moved the ball a little bit here, and Coach Shevlin perhaps wants to get his defense maybe a little blow and also get them refocused.
Yeah, and the Cardinals have been running the ball 99% of the time tonight. And when you get into a second half of a football game and they're controlling line of scrimmage, it's going to wear down that El Segundo defense, especially when you don't have your big physical guys playing tonight on the defensive side of the ball. So they may just be a little tired, it looks like, so far. And fortunately for El Segundo, they have a 26-point lead halfway through the third quarter. I don't see anything changing, even if Lawndale's able to score here.
Interestingly enough, Jason Parker was doing most of the talking, all of the talking with that group there, so he's focusing on the defense, it would appear. There's one of our fans wending her way through the stands. There's a give to Travion Thomas. Short pickup that time, probably 2-3 yards. So ball down to the El Segundo 33. Bring up a 2nd and 8. And here's those types of situations where a lot of times a team would throw the ball, but Lawndale just hasn't shown any indication of being able to click through the air, so they'll probably keep it on the ground on the 2nd and long. And that's what they do to Carlton Callaway, and this time the Eagles defense stiffens. Good job there. Devin Dahm was one of the tacklers. Short gain, about 2 more yards. This will bring up a 3rd and about 6. So let's see if Lawndale puts it up, and I bet you they won't. Ball on the 31 of the Eagles. Now this is kind of 4-down territory, so they may go on 4th down, and there's great second effort, but it's still not quite going to be enough by Travion Thomas. He picked up about 3 or 4 yards on a second effort.
Yeah, Keegan Portillo did a nice job slowing him down. He was the first guy to make contact. Great second effort, but looks like they're going to be maybe a half yard shy.
Yeah, it's a little more than that. I think it's about a full yard, maybe even a yard and a half. Let's call it a yard. There you see the 4th down marker in the back of your screen. There's Mike Quinones. Big play here. There's the give to Callaway, and he's got the 1st down. So Lawndale sustaining this drive. Now they're approaching the red zone. And in this area of the field, there's still kind of a vestige of grass, so it's a little easier to run here. Ball is now at about the 24 of El Segundo. 1st and 10 for Lawndale. This is the best looking drive they've had just about all night. 5.5 minutes left. There's a give. Oh no, he keeps it. Collins kept it. He fooled me and he fooled the El Segundo defense. And that's a touchdown around right end for Justin Collins. And that was a very effective fake because I was completely faked out up here.
You and me both, as well as I think everyone in the stadium was faked out. He did a nice job there of getting around the right side and catching El Segundo off guard. Tight end did a nice job blocking on the outside to free up the running lane for Collins.
So it's a 23-yard or 24-yard touchdown scamper by Justin Collins. This time the point after is good by Jesse Perez. And that brings the score to 32-13 in favor of the Eagles. So there we have a player down for El Segundo, and looks like Kyle Yatabi.
Yeah, maybe he's cramping a bit. Most of these kids play both ways. You see this a lot in second half of football games in high school, kids cramping up.
Let's hope he's all right.
Well, the Cardinals not dead yet. Down 32-13, 19 points. They've obviously had success tonight running the football. I think it's going to be a question of, is this a little too late for them? I mean, is there enough time for them to really claw back into this game? I think if El Segundo can just put together one more drive and get one more touchdown, I think that'll be the nail in the coffin. And I don't really see anything stopping them other than themselves.
Oh, there we are. Look at
we are.
Well, I think you're right in that if El Segundo can keep the ball away from Lawndale, get some kind of drive going and chew up some clock, that's going to be very beneficial, obviously, for the Eagles here. There's another short kick, and it's handled by Luke Yesner, and he gets a short run back across the 35 to about the 37. So the Eagles, pretty good field position. And with 5:21 left in the third, Mike Quinones, there's Luke Yesner coming off. Seems to be doing okay. For a second, I thought he might have been limping, but he was not. So Eagles take over. Let's call it the 36 of the Eagles. And Quinones under center. I formation, and the give is to Gage Mortison, and Mortison ran right into trouble, and there was a late hit there, and it's going to be called by Dion Reed, and that was really a foolish play by Dion Reed, who's a junior. He should know better. It's going to give El Segundo 15 yards when it would have been 2nd and 11. They actually lost a yard on that play.
Boy, what is ever a foolish play? I mean, clearly Mortensen was down for a good second or two when Dion Reed came in there and for no reason just dove on him. I mean, that was a mental error and a huge mistake because, as you said, Diego, it was going to be a 2nd 11 from their 32. Now it's a 1st and 10 from midfield.
Yeah, ball right on the midfield stripe, and that's a big break for El Segundo, as now they have a short field, basically. Quinones, there's the give to Mortison, and Mortison's across the 45 to the 40, inside the 40 all the way to the 35, a pickup of 15 yards. And great job by the offensive line there to open up some holes. Keegan Portillo was one of those players doing that, and certainly it's to El Segundo's advantage to just try to keep the ball on the ground a little bit.
Yeah.
Chew up some clock and
sure.
get something going here on the ground if they can.
Absolutely. You're Coach Shevlin, the El Segundo Eagles. No reason to put the ball up in the air and risk an interception, tipped ball, anything like that.
There's the give to Mortison again, and he's going to get around the left end. Picks up 7 or 8 yards. Nice gain by Gage Mortison.
Yep, nice gain. Does a nice job staying in bounds, keep the clock ticking.
So now the ball all the way to the 28 of Lawndale.
And that penalty is looking huge, isn't it, Diego?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you see how that one penalty, that one foolish mistake sets off a whole chain of events here that has El Segundo reclaiming the momentum just when Lawndale had gotten a little bit going. So 2nd and about a long 3, let's call it. Ball at the 28 of Lawndale, and a fake handoff and a incomplete pass intended for Joey Schaffhauser, but we have a flag. Let's see what this is. A lot of times in an area that might be holding against Lawndale.
Yeah, I thought, or it could be an illegal man downfield. You know, if the offensive lineman run too far downfield, it could be.
And that's what it is.
That's what it is. It's an ineligible receiver downfield. That's what I thought. You know, I looked at the official and I was wondering what he saw. It looked like he saw, I believe it was number 77, Randy Gerber, who broke that plane and became an eligible, or in this case, ineligible receiver downfield. It's a good call by the official, and it's going to back them up a little bit.
So that'll hurt, as it'll bring up it'll make it 2nd and about 5 or 6 instead of, or maybe more. It's going to be, it's going to be about 2nd and about 7, let's call it. So ball now on the 33 of Lawndale. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Quinones go to John Yesner. That's what's worked the best for El Segundo tonight, but he's looking in the other direction, and he's going for Schaffhauser, and Schaffhauser comes down with it. Nice catch out there as the closest defender. Looked like it might have been Carlos Lopez, but he was about 3 or 4 yards away from Schaffhauser.
Yeah, he was.
Big pickup.
And give credit to the sophomore, Schaffhauser, for coming down with that ball. That's the toughest ball to catch in football, the ball that's over your shoulders. You're looking back into the lights. He did a great job coming down with that ball, and that's a big, big play for El Segundo.
So the ball now, it's about on the 12-yard line, I think. The yard markers are a little bit sort of rubbed out down in that end of the field. Now the ball is almost down to the 5, as right there, Mortison picked up about 4 more yards. So El Segundo threatening to do just what they needed to do, which is chew up some clock and score, and all because of a foolish mistake on the defense on a penalty. Well, we don't know if El Segundo would have gotten a drive going anyway, but it would have been 2nd and 11. Instead, it was a personal foul call, and El Segundo has taken the ball and taken the opportunity given to them by Dion Reed and done a good job. Now it looks like El Segundo has confused. The offense looked like they wanted to call timeout, but now they're going to step up to the line of scrimmage and run a play. I formation behind Quinones. The give is to Mortison. Mortison fighting for yardage, and he's close to a touchdown. Let's see if they give it to him. And they do. Sort of a delayed call there, but about a 4 or 5 yard scamper by Gage Mortison up the middle. And that's, I believe, that's his first touchdown tonight. Is that right, Glenn? I believe it is.
Yeah, I think you're right, Diego.
But that's his 6th of the year.
And that's a nice, nifty little piece of running by Gage Morris. Boy, he made some nice moves there in between the tackles. Made a couple guys miss to be able to get into that end zone. Nice run.
Here's the point after try, and it is good as well. So the Eagles snuff out any momentum that Lawndale might have gotten from that long touchdown march that they put together. And boy, penalties and mistakes kill you, and they killed Lawndale on that drive.
Yeah.
And you got to give, of course, El Segundo some credit for putting together a drive, but it was sort of triggered by that personal foul penalty.
It really was, and that's a credit to Coach Shevlin and his coaching staff. All season long we've seen this. They've been able to capitalize on personal foul calls, miscues and mistakes made by the opposing team. It seems like every time that happens and it goes in El Segundo's favor, El Segundo follows it up with a big play. They've done that all season long. They've done that tonight, and they're really showing why they could be a threat here coming from the Pioneer League in playoff time.
Well,
they're clicking on all cylinders.
I believe it's Division 10, unless I'm mistaken. That's what it has been in the past. And I don't know really who the big powerhouses are. I just haven't done enough research to look into it in that division. But certainly the Eagles can't be overlooked by whoever they will face if they do make playoffs, because they've got a very well-balanced offense. Here's the kickoff by Pelk. It's going to fall, and then it's handled by number 8, Curry, and he is brought down. Basically, no gain there. Good play on the defensive end of the ball. I should say special teams, not the defensive end of the ball. That's Kevin Kretzmer. Haven't called his name much this year, but he made a nice tackle there. 1:51 left in the third quarter. Eagles firmly in control. 39-13 is the score. And Lawndale has the ball on their 20-yard line to start this drive. And there's a give to Callaway. Well, let's see. Did I miscall that? I believe. No, I think I got it right. It was Carlton Callaway. So, short pickup, not much. Couple of yards, 2 yards. Carlton Callaway, to our surprise, has been pretty much the featured back tonight for Lawndale, not Travion Thomas. There's well, as soon as I say that, of course, they give it to, let's see, was that Travion Thomas? It's hard to read the numbers now as they get more and more mud. They stuck with Callaway again, and he picked up good yardage. Callaway's got to be closing in on 100 yards for this game.
Yeah, I would think so. And it is a surprise that Thomas hasn't seen more action tonight. Maybe he's had some lingering effects from a concussion, perhaps. I don't know. But he's got some wheels, so surprised he hasn't been in there more.
So first down for the Lawndale Cardinals, but now we have flags flying everywhere. And it's against the Eagles. This is the only aspect of the Eagles game where they have been a little shaky. They've had about 4 of these encroachment calls go against them. Hasn't hurt them that much, but It's given Lawndale a few 1st and 5s in this game. Ball on the Lawndale 35. Time winding down in the third quarter. We're at the 40-second mark. 40 seconds left in the third, and the Eagles with a big 26-point lead. And Lawndale with an inability to throw the ball. And now they're going to try it. And it's Markeith Cungius, the intended receiver, but I think that's picked off by Garlitos. And indeed it is. Interestingly enough, Lawndale has always gone to that one receiver tonight, it seems, and Garlitos has been all over him. And a great interception, I believe.
Yeah, they keep going to Markeith.
Yeah, he's got a strange last name. I think it's Cungius.
Cungius. You know, he's a 6'3", 175-pound sophomore.
Well, that's why they're going to him. He's 6'3".
Yeah, and he obviously is a fast kid. If you notice, every time they've gone to him tonight, he's had some separation from the defensive back. In this case, he had a few steps on Garlitos, but again, Collins underthrew the ball, gave Garlitos a chance to come down with it, and he made a great play and a great interception, which thwarts the Eagles' drive.
Lawndale, well, that's Garlitos' second interception. So great job by him, and now the Eagles will look to chew up some clock behind Gage Mortison. The give was to him, pickup of about 6, and that's going to run out the clock here in the third quarter as the Eagles lead it by 39-13. There you have Tyler Murray coming towards you in the center of the screen. And there's the Eagle sideline with this comfortable lead. Coach Shevlin's got to be feeling good, as more than likely his squad will go to 3-1 in the Pioneer League. And I'm trying to remember who they face in the last week of Pioneer League action. It's an away game, so we won't have it here for you. I believe it's South Torrance. So that's not going to be the easiest of games, but certainly the Eagles up to the task if they play as well as they have the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and they've been clicking on all cylinders, Diego, these last few weeks. They had a great game last week against the Saxons. They probably made less mistakes last week than they've made tonight. But still, the offense is firing. And when the offense is firing, Quinones is doing a great job spreading the ball around. They're going to be tough to stop. And you can't underestimate their ground game. I think Mortensen has done a very nice job filling the shoes of Chris Atmore, who graduated last year. He's a tough runner. He always makes the first guy or two miss. He finishes his runs nicely. They keep playing the way they're playing, they're going to be tough to deal with in the playoffs.
So now it's a 1st and 10 for the Eagles here to start off. I'm sorry, it's second. There was that run by Mortison. It's second and short. It's second and about 3.5. There was a nice little run by Mortison to finish off the quarter. Now he's under pressure, and there's going to be a face mask penalty here on Dion Reed again, that same name. They had the full-on blitz. Deshaun Hodges was in there, and Dion Reed just got a little careless with his hand. He threw that hand up into the face mask, and Dion Reed is killing the Lawndale Cardinals here late in the game. So instead of a sack and a good play for Lawndale, it's a face mask penalty, and I think this is going to give the Eagles a first down.
Yep.
The ball placed at about the Eagle 42. And now the Eagles have absolutely no reason to put this ball up, but they're in a passing formation here. But instead they give it to Tyler Murray, and he picks up about 2 yards, maybe 3 yards. But that's the smart thing to do, because you just chew up the clock, and you've got a very comfortable lead. So no reason Coach Shevlin should be too motivated to pass the ball here. Now checking out is Trevon Smith and Kevin Post.
Yeah, well, I think after tonight, it looks like Quinones is going to be completing better than 50% of his passes this year, probably around 53, 55%. He'll be over 2,000 yards on the season.
There's a little quick hitter over the middle. This is the play that's worked all night long for the Eagles. Like you mentioned, they found a soft spot clearly over the middle. And again, it's a big pickup. They picked up 23 yards on that play. That was Tyler Murray.
And there they're seeing Luke Yesner on the sideline.
So he was maybe a little injured. I mentioned earlier he looked like he might have been limping as he was coming off, and there we see him icing down what looks like an ankle. So 1st and 10 for the Eagles. Hopefully it's nothing serious. And there's a fumble, and fortuitously for the Eagles, the ball bounces back to Mike Quinones.
Yeah, and it looks like Gage Mortensen never really had a handle on it. It looked like he just was looking upfield before he actually had the ball in his hands there. And a heads-up play by Quinones to see that and to dive on that ball, keep the drive alive.
So now it's going to be a 2nd and about 15. 10 minutes left in this game with the Eagles up 39-13. 2nd and long. They'll probably put the ball up here. John Yesner and Kevin Post are to the right, to the left of Quinones. Trevon Smith is to his right. Quinones now looks like he might run it. And he pitches it instead he faked a pitch to Murray. And he picked up the first down, I believe, down that far sideline. So great job by Quinones. He might be just a little shy. It's going to be close.
Yeah, he did a nice job on the fake and getting around the outside. Got some nice blocks out there. Looked like by Kevin Post. And who was it? I can't see. It looked like Kevin Post and Tyler Murray to get Quinones. And it looks like he's
just a little shy.
Just shy.
Yeah, a yard shy. Ball is at the 26 of Lawndale. Yesner and Smith are the receivers. Rolling out is Quinones. He's looking downfield. He's looking for Smith. He's got Smith. Smith beats his defender. Smith is going to be into the end zone for a touchdown. He beat Rashad Scott. Great move by Trevon Smith. And
yeah, it looked like Rashad Scott just slipped a little bit when going to make the tackle on Trevon Smith. Looked like he was maybe going for the interception, just missed the tackle a little bit and slipped. Trevon Smith, all him from that point forward as he made a nice move on Justin Collins to get into the end zone for the touchdown.
So Smith picks up his second. Oh, they're going to call it back. I did not see the flag. Did you see the indication, or have they not given it yet?
Well, it looks like it
must have been a holding or holding. Holding is what it is. So that touchdown is for naught, as the Eagles have a touchdown nullified. With this big of a lead, it doesn't hurt as much. It always hurts, of course, when you have points taken off the board like that. But now it's a third and about 11 for the Eagles from the Lawndale 35, maybe 36. Quinones in the pocket, airing it out. He's got Nassari, and Nassari makes the catch. Nassari got behind the defense. The defender on that play was Carlos Lopez, but he got there too late, and a great throw by Quinones.
Yeah, but I don't know about you, Diego, but I'm kind of wondering where Nassari's been all season. 5'10", 170-pound junior. He's had some great catches tonight. He's run some really solid routes, and he probably, if I'm guessing, is in that 80, 90-yard range tonight receiving.
Yeah, he's had a great night, has Rashad Nassari. Here's Quinones looking into the end zone. He's going for his favorite receiver, Post, and it's a touchdown. An 8-yard touchdown strike to Kevin Post. So the points were taken off the board, but the Eagles put them right back on. And,
But I'm not sure. Is that 3 or 4 touchdown passes for Quinones tonight?
Well, I'll have to check it out, but I think it's 4.
Yeah, he's got at least 4 touchdown passes tonight. And boy, this offense these last few weeks has really looked sharp. Even a few weeks ago when they lost, I think, to Centinela. I'm not sure who that was. It was a close game, but they lost 19-16 in a heartbreaker.
Oh, yeah, they lost to Centennial.
Centennial. Before that they'd won a few games in a row. So second half of the season, they've really come on strong.
So the point after is good. And, well, no, I'm sorry. I missed that. No point after. Did they go for a 2-point conversion there?
No, it looked like it was a muffed snap.
So 45-13 is your score. It's a blowout here at Hazeltine Field. We have not had many close games here at Hazeltine Field. It's been one way or the other. It's been blowouts all season long. The one at the beginning of the season was at the Eagles' expense by West Torrance, but some of the other ones have been the Eagles inflicting damage on other teams, and that's the way it's going tonight, as Lawndale just hasn't been up to the task of keeping up with this Eagle air attack. That secondary has just looked defenseless at times. They just haven't been able to stop the receivers at all. So Pelk will kick it off. Kicks off deep. This one is going to maybe go out of bounds, so they'll get the ball at the 35. The Cardinals. There's 8.5 minutes left in a game which essentially is decided. The Eagles lead it by a huge margin, 32 points, so there's no way that Lawndale's crawling back into this one. The only thing they can hope for is just to make the score look a little bit more respectable. The Eagles will probably play some substitutes here in the late stages, perhaps. The bench might be a little short. I don't know if all those who had the flu are actually playing, but anyway, the Eagles very much in control of this one, and pretty much a replay in terms of last week's game, in terms of some of the varied attack that they've shown. Here's Travion Thomas for a pickup of about 7 or 8. And I finally got these names straightened out. There's only 8 minutes left in the game, but I think I got it now. Ball up to the 40-yard line, pickup of about 5, 2nd and 5. One of the things that bears mentioning about Lawndale is that this program hasn't been in existence that long. I remember talking to Armando Padilla last year. I went down to the high school in Lawndale and talked to him. And here's Collins rolling out. He's going to air it out. He's under pressure, and it's a wobbly throw. He had Portillo just about to wipe him out.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that ball was tipped.
It might have been tipped by Portillo.
Yeah, it may have been tipped by Keegan Portillo. I mean, it really came out of there funny. It was on the far side of the field.
Getting back to the Lawndale program, it's a program that they had to pretty much start from scratch, and I can't remember exactly how many years ago. I think it's maybe 3 years ago or 4 years ago.
Yeah, I think you're right, Dick. I remember last year we mentioned it during the broadcast that they had only been in existence for maybe 3 years or something to that effect.
Yeah, it's something of that nature. Here's a rollout. Collins will keep it, and he breaks through to the secondary, and that's a big gain for Justin Collins. He's a good runner. He picks up about 25 yards there at one clip. The ball now at the Eagle 39-yard line. And that's an effective play. It's sort of that option play, so you're worried about him pitching it to Travion Thomas. which they don't do so much because it's a dangerous thing. We've seen them mess up that toss and end up fumbling. So I would almost more often, think that Collins is going to keep it. There's a pretty big pickup again, and that's their featured back tonight, Carlton Callaway, who surely is over 100 yards now. He picked up another 6 there. 2nd and 4. Clock is running. We're at 6.5 minutes left in this game. Lawndale trailing badly. They're trying to drive the ball here, and they're doing just that as Travion Thomas, that ball came out, but it's ruled down by contact. Gained another first down, picked up about 6 or 7 yards there on that play. You can see he's tough to bring down. He's a short guy, but he's 190 pounds of muscle, and no fun to try and tackle him.
No, he really has that prototypical running backs build, if you will, a la Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith, that short 5'6", 5'7", 5'8", beefy, thick legs, tough to tackle.
And here he is again, and this time he is brought down after a gain of about another 4 or 5 yards. Tyler Murray was in on that tackle.
Well, I think if you're a Cardinals fan, there are definitely some bright spots. You know, the team hasn't been in existence that long. Travion Thomas will come back next year. You have a lot of sophomores and juniors on their team. And if they can just establish some type of passing game, you know, which is difficult in a new program, but if they can begin to build a passing game, obviously they can run the ball. They've controlled the line of scrimmage. I think El Segundo is just too talented for them in all the skill positions, and they're too difficult to stop.
Now we're going to have a measurement, looks like, to see if Thomas picked up this first down. Let's see. And it is a first down. So ball is inside the red zone. It's at about the 18 of El Segundo. And yeah, Lawndale has shown that they can drive the ball a little bit in this second half. It is just the fact that the absence of a passing game does hurt them, because the defense can really key on a couple of guys. And there you see the effects of that as Andrew Horn tackled Carlton Callaway after a very short gain, if any. Maybe he may have gained a half a yard there. Well, they're going to give him a yard. So 2nd and 9. And the give is again to, I believe, Callaway, and that time, again, not much there. Good job by the defense. Gage Mortison was in on that tackle. Gain of about 2. It'll bring up 3rd and 7. And here's where you would ideally throw the ball, theoretically. But Justin Collins has not completed a pass tonight.
You hear the applause from the fans here at El Segundo, Hazeltine Field tonight, cheering Keegan Portillo and some of the seniors that are coming off the field. Shevlin putting in some of the subs here late in the game.
There's Travion Thomas getting that handoff, and he did pick up the first down, and the ball is now inside the 5-yard line of El Segundo, where it will be a 1st and goal to goal for the Cardinals. They're going to place that ball, well, it looks like just about on the 5. So Travion Thomas gamely picking up yardage here. The other nice thing you like to see is that the Lawndale Cardinals, there's no quit in them. They keep coming at you. Here's a throw, and Markeith Cungius was wide open this time, but the ball was underthrown yet again, and it was caught, but he couldn't, in high school, I guess, once he slipped down, you can't get up again and run.
Right. And, boy, that is a shame because
he was wide open.
He was wide open, yeah. There was nobody even on him from the inception of that play. But
So,
let's see if they can push it in here. I mean, it's
yeah, it's at the
second.
2. It's second and goal to goal from about the 1.5, let's call it. Well, they got those running backs. They're going to stick with them, I would think, here. Or maybe even Justin Collins will run it in. And that's what they're going to try and do with their quarterback. Second effort, and let's see if they're going to give it to him. And they do. Touchdown, Justin Collins. That's his second rushing touchdown of the night. And that one's just a 1-yarder, a plunge. Nice second effort there by Collins because they had him sort of stopped at first, but he kept coming and picked up the points. So that closes the score to 45-19, pending the point after try by Perez. The snap is good one, and the hold is good, and everything's good. So that'll make it 45-20. But so at least Lawndale is not giving up, fighting hard here, and making the score a little more respectable. And, it's interesting that they have managed to put up as many points as they have, considering the fact that they haven't, well, now they did. They completed that one pass. They completed one pass in probably 6 attempts or so, and for all of 3 yards or something. So no passing game to speak of. And, they still managed to sustain a few drives and score 20 points thus far. Mistakes have hurt them tonight for sure.
Yeah, but I think, you take away those mistakes where they gave El Segundo a short field, I think this game would be much tighter. They made few ill-timed penalties and some fumbles and some turnovers, but there's a lot to like in this Lawndale team. They did a good job running the football tonight, very effective, and they just got behind by too much too early was really the story, and without any type of passing game, you're just giving the defense easy pickings. Just load up on the line of scrimmage to stop the run.
So Lawndale will kick off. A little bit longer kickoff this time. Trevon Smith gets it at about his 20 to the 25 to the 30, 35. He's to midfield. Trevon Smith into Lawndale territory. And another short field for the Eagles as they will, now we have late flags.
Yeah, that may be against Lawndale. Looked like away from the ball, Markeith Kungios looked like he tackled Gage Mortensen well out of bounds here on the near side of the field near the press box.
So perhaps we'll have to see what the call is. Perhaps a sort of a loss of discipline by a Lawndale player. I did not see it. I think, like you said, it happened away from the ball. Let's see what the call is. We're still waiting for the call. And it's a personal foul against El Segundo, actually.
Wow. Well, that could be one of those things where, the guy who pushed off first or hit the guy to bounce first was the guy that got called. Normally it's the other way around, but we didn't really see it. I'm not sure who that was against on El Segundo, but it looked like to us it was on this side of the field. Maybe it's against Gage Mortensen. I'm not really sure.
At any rate, it'll push El Segundo into not such great field position, but now we have, it looks like a backup quarterback.
Yeah, it's Mike Bundy, a freshman, 5'9", 170 pounds, seeing some action tonight on the varsity level.
And the give is to Sean Groves, who also doesn't get much action. So Coach Shevlin now with the game well in hand and letting some of his reserves get some experience. And also the regulars, he doesn't want to see them get injured in a sort of a meaningless situation. So this is wise. He's pulling out. The seniors are all getting a big hand as they come out. Trevon Smith got a big hand there, and There's the give again. Sean Groves, short pickup. 2 minutes left in this game as El Segundo will go to 3-1 in Pioneer League action pending they have one more game. I can't remember if it's against Torrance or if it's against South Torrance. I'm a little confused in my own mind here, but it's one of those two schools next week away. And I think El Segundo, if what I read in the Daily Breeze today is correct, should they win next week, they actually have a shot at sharing in the league title. So El Segundo will be pumped up for that game. Bundy with the throw and a nice completion to John Yesner, who stayed in the game. And that's a first down. So a nice little throw there by Mike Bundy.
Yeah, it was a nice throw. Yesner ran a great pattern there, and Bundy came through and hit him right in the numbers. So
this kid must be Randy Bundy's younger brother. Randy Bundy was a girl who played a lot of varsity sports here at El Segundo. She's graduated now. I remember her mostly as a very good softball player, and this no doubt must be her younger brother who's seeing some action at quarterback and doing fine, just fine so far. There's another handoff to number 23.
Sean Groves.
Yeah, Sean Groves.
Well, I think they'll probably get one more playoff, and that'll just about do it. Well, I come away with this game, Diego, very impressed with El Segundo. I think, as I've said several times tonight, their offense is just firing on all cylinders. I mean, they're doing 4 and 5 wide out sets. I mean, who do you cover? Who do you choose to stop? The passing game, the ground game. They're going to be a threat in the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, the only question in my mind is, will the team in the playoffs maintain this high a level against competition, which will obviously be tougher? It just remains to be seen. But they're certainly playing well, and that's the final play of the game, as you mentioned. A big victory for El Segundo over Lawndale, 45-20. There you have your final score as El Segundo reels off another Pioneer League win, and El Segundo has a shot at the league title. Of course, it depends on what happens in the other games tonight, and of course it depends on what happens next week, but El Segundo has given themselves a chance at the Pioneer League title, and very nice showing tonight. For Glenn Cassie, I'm Diego Sanchez. Again, the final score, 45 for El Segundo, 20 for Lawndale. And that's our last telecast of this season. Thanks for watching on ESCC TV 3, and we'll catch you next football season, if not before.